Hi, my name is Austin Craven. I'm an instructor here at UNCG in the biology department. I put this video together to give you a brief introduction to Biology 105 online labs. Now, the main purpose of this course is going to be to give you supplemental instruction that goes along with your 105 lecture. The focus for this lab is going to be on teaching you the application and steps of the scientific method, which is a process that scientists use to learn about the natural world as well as solve problems. This is a non-traditional online course, and I want to make sure all the students are aware of this. This is an online lab. You guys are going to be working in groups for a lot of this course. Because of this, working through the class as a whole at your own pace is not going to be a possibility. You will be having to schedule and work with other group members constantly, as well as make meetings with your instructor. So, I want the responsibilities for this class to be clear up front. Now, what we're looking at this moment is the Canvas homepage for Biology 105 online lab. Now, this is the particular homepage from one of my courses from fall of 2018. On the homepage, which is what we're looking at right now, there are a few things I'd like to point out. First of all, there should be a link to your syllabus, and I already have the preview pulled up here as we're going to open this and discuss it at length next. In addition, there's also a syllabus link on the left-hand side that I want all of you to be aware of. Frequently, the due dates for your assignments should be programmed in here, and you should be able to view that if you go to this link and scroll to the bottom. Now, the syllabus file that we post as well also has a lot of information, so I want to open it up briefly and go over some important parts of it with you all. First of all, there's a lot of information contained in the syllabus. I expect each of you to go through and read all of the information present. I'm going to go through and hit some of the highlights that I think it's very critical for students to know. First of all, the materials for this course. We will not require a textbook to be purchased for this class, and the materials that you guys will use for labs can be found at most grocery stores. However, instead of having a lab manual, we do have a website that we expect you guys to use, and that's found it's called the Learning Area, and there's a link to that on the Canvas homepage. This will act, like I said, as your lab manual. There will be pre-lab information found there that you will be expected to read before your meetings with your instructors for each lab. And there's also guidance on how to go through and perform each individual experiment. In addition to that, the learning area is also going to act in part as your instructor. There's going to be many places where there are going to be elements of the scientific method that the learning area is going to break down what a good and a bad version of that would look like. I heavily encourage all of my students to pay very close attention to this, as you're going to be graded primarily on the way that you represent information in a scientific report. And learning these components from the learning area will greatly facilitate your understanding of what's expected from you for this class. Next up, I want to briefly discuss attendance. The bare minimum meeting requirements that I have for each group that I will work with for this class is meeting with me at least once per lab that we perform. This is to give me an opportunity to give you a little bit of guidance on how to perform the lab, as well as give you guys an opportunity to ask me any questions about the biological information that's going to be relevant, or about how to perform the experiment. I heavily encourage you all to come in prepared to these meetings, as it will allow you to utilize me or your instructor as to the fullest extent. If you miss a meeting, this will hurt your grade, and I will discuss that more as I go down and break out the ways that we will be assessing your grades in this course. But I want you to be aware that if you miss 3 or more meetings with your instructor, this will result in a 25% penalty to your overall grade, which is 2.5 letter grades. Now, for the assessments in this course, there are 4 main assessments that you guys will be working through as you work through this lab. The first are the pre-lab quizzes. These are quizzes based on the pre-lab information found in the learning area. Generally speaking, you should read the material and complete these quizzes before meeting with your instructor for each lab. Each of these quizzes will be online on Canvas. You will have a total of 3 attempts to take each one, and only your highest grade will be recorded. Lab reports. Lab reports are going to be the main way that we assess your grades in this course. And the grade for the lab reports is going to be broken down into 2 components. The first is the team grade. The team grade will be based upon the instructor grading the lab report that your group generates and submits to the instructor. Every member of the group will be responsible for what's written in the lab report. So I heavily encourage everybody to look over what's written by other members of your group, since all of you will be graded on that same material. The grading for the reports will be based off of a rubric, which can be found if you go to the Assignments tab in Canvas and click on any of the lab reports. There is a full rubric of how we will grade those reports listed out at the bottom of those pages. Now, because this course is going to rely on group work heavily, and group work always has the challenge of, or the danger, of one student performing an unfair amount of the work in comparison to everyone else, we will also have individual grades for each lab report. These will be based off of a combination of elements of participation. First of all, one of the components is going to be whether or not you attended your meeting. And this is how you would lose points if you miss meetings. One of the components of the individual grade is going to be approximately how much effort you put into the lab report. So lab reports are going to be written on Google Docs. These Google Docs are going to be shared with the instructors, and they will be able to see what each individual wrote. We will grade the students based off of the relative amount of effort put into the materials into the lab report generated. If your groups work through the lab report in a way such as that individuals are doing the typing, while one person is doing the typing while somebody else might be generating the information, I heavily encourage you to contact your instructor, as this will not be apparent when they sit down to grade your participation on the reports. Responsiveness to emails will also be a component of your individual grade. If you are a group leader, meeting your group, the deadlines provided by your instructor, performing the group leader duties of emailing the instructor, submitting the Canvas assignment, failing to do any of these will result in participation or individual lab grade point reductions. Before I finish discussing the lab reports, I also do want to briefly mention well, 2 points. The individual grade will also be influenced by the students performing the actual labs, and we will require documentation and proof of this. But I also want to touch very briefly on plagiarism. So I want to stress that all of the content that you students generate for the online lab reports must be written in your own words. Plagiarism is against the university policies and will be found and prosecuted if performed in this class. I want to warn you all now going in that it is your responsibility to know what plagiarism is. And if you have any doubts about the definition, I heavily encourage you to look at the UNCG Library's website, where there are many good resources describing what we classify as plagiarism. It is a lot more complicated than just copying and pasting from a source. Alright, the last part of your assessment that I want to touch on with you guys, with the students, is your peer evaluations. And this is another mechanism that we have put in place to assure that the group members are all participating equally. But each of you are going to have an opportunity to influence other group members' grade in your peer evaluations. After each lab, you should receive a Google survey that asks questions about what other group members did well and what other group members need to improve on. And it also gives you an opportunity to assign a numerical grade for each of your group members. Your peer evaluation grades are going to be averages from your other group members' assessments of you. Now the feedback, what you did right and what you did wrong from your other group members is also going to be anonymized and returned to the individual that it's regarding. I heavily encourage you guys to be honest and straightforward in this feedback. The reason being is because in the past we've seen students improve working in groups as long as they're told what they're doing wrong. So not only will this give you a way of punishing group members who are not participating equally in the class, it also gives you a way of helping guide them correct any behaviors that you feel like are damaging your group's work. If you do not fill out a peer survey during one of the labs, you will receive a 0 for your grade for the peer evaluation. Now, I want to briefly touch on the weighting for each of the assignments. So the pre-lab quizzes altogether are going to be worth 15% of your overall grade. The lab reports, the team grades are going to be worth 30%. The individual grades are going to be worth 40%. The peer assessments are going to be worth 15%, for a total of 100%. And the letter grade breakdown are also provided on the syllabus. Now, letter grades, the numerical grades that you guys will receive will determine what letter grade is assigned. If you feel like there has been some assignment in error, I encourage you to contact your instructor, but there will not be any extra credit or forgiveness of assignments or grades in this course unless some extenuating circumstances can be shown to be the case. If you miss a deadline for submitting an assignment or performing a pre-lab quiz or turning in a peer eval or anything in this course, you will receive a 0 for that grade. We do not accept late work. The last thing I want to mention is at the bottom of your syllabus, there should be a rough schedule with many of the due dates that you'll be dealing with over the course of the semester. I want all of you to be aware of this resource, as this is very useful when it comes to planning and scheduling your semester. And that concludes the information I'd like to touch on with the syllabus. The next video is going to give you an introduction to some of the tools and resources that you'll be utilizing as you complete your semester with the Biology 105 online lab.